They say, where you from? I say the 510. They ask me, do I keep it Ivy? And I say, yeah, for sure. I keep it real for sure. What? Baby, you already know. I ain't got no time, so please don't hit my line. I got that Titan pride. We from Skyline.
Good morning, good afternoon, Skyline. I'm your host, Ayden Saecheo. Keeping it interesting, I'm here with one of the best teachers here at Skyline, Mr. Poston, or Harley Poston. So how are you doing this morning, Mr. Poston?
No, I'm doing all right. My sixth period was pretty good, I'd say.
Okay. So over the years at Skyline you've been teaching at, do you see any changes or in the students, teachers wise?
Yeah. This is my sixth year at Skyline. And I'd say when it comes to the students, a major change that a lot of teachers have detected is the growing prominence of your cell phones in class.
Yeah.
And, this sounds like some dumb teacherly thing to, worry about, but, it just every year it's getting adjusted to this, growing presence where, my first year, a kid texts in class and the teacher's like, oh, put it away.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second year, it's like, oh, the kid's FaceTiming in class. Oh, the third year, oh, I have half my class scrolling on Instagram the whole time. My fourth year, it's like, oh, my kid's watching a feature-length film on their phone in class. And then the fifth year, sixth year, it's, and so, I'm not saying it's all bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it can be, I've seen students use, actually I just saw in my last class, kids watching full-length anime episode, but was actually making some progress on their work. And I was like, okay, that's something. But then I got a whole lot of other kids who, I can't read a paragraph out loud without half the class going on the phone, And so I'd say when it comes, part of this is because, every year I have kids who have had devices younger and younger, right?
Yeah.
Because my first year, kids might have first got their phones in middle school, but then in my sixth year, kids got their phones in fourth grade. Right? It's just been a deeper part of their upbringing. And the algorithms that social media companies use to hijack your attention have gotten better and better and better. Right?
Yeah.
So that's a big change in the students. As for the staff, I mean, it is a lot, but it's sort of the ongoing churn of OUSD, which is to underpay us so we can barely live and make a career out of this. Right? Lots of folks can work here maybe a couple years while they're single and childless, but then can you have 3 kids and buy a house here? No. So that churn just keeps getting worse, and we've seen some sort of spiraling effect as a result, especially in admin too, where our admin turnover causes, issues in campus leadership.
Yeah. So speaking of changes, in your opinion, do you think Skyline needs any changes, classroom teaching wise?
Skyline needs about I forgot the exact number. It's around $100 million. First of all, to overhaul every facility in this school. Yeah. Right? The facts, my wife teaches in Dublin, right?
Yeah.
Every classroom has air conditioning, and easily controlled heating and ventilation. No class is leaking in a rainstorm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's not puddles pooling, with flood because the drains are, drains don't drain. At her last school, which she was at for 5 years, they never canceled school. There was no electrical outage. That maybe brief power outages, but nothing that would cause us to leave.
Yeah.
Or stop school from happening. No water outages. No the smoke, I would say that's not our fault, right? But they didn't have that, right? It was just like, I want kids in Oakland to understand just how much you're getting screwed by people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars and sit in air-conditioned offices making decisions to make your life worse or keep your life not good. And so before, like, I could go on like every little thing that could change, but like at the basic level, we need tens of millions of dollars put into this campus. We need Oakland teachers are the lowest paid teachers in the county. Yeah. We need to change that by like another tens of millions of dollars, right? Yeah. If we're going to talk about any of the real changes, any of the more specific changes that could happen. Yeah.
Okay. So COVID, how do you think COVID affected Skyline and like teachers and like students? Do you think students got lazier, or do you think they're more active after like coming back from COVID?
I don't know. I mean, sure, COVID exacerbated lots of issues, traumatized people in millions of different ways with all the family members we lost and the ongoing mass disabling event that COVID is. Yeah. Yes, but no issue we have now we did not have before COVID.
Can you explain more?
Like with the phones. Phones were an issue before COVID, and then you sat on your phone for a year, in 2020, 2021. Sure, and those habits are hard to break when you come back, but that is not a new problem. Okay. Right? Schools have always been like cesspools of disease. Yeah. Had poor ventilation. That's always been the case, but now we just have this new disease to worry about. Yeah. Right? And we have compromised immune systems to deal with it for those who have gotten it. So, yes, obviously it's affected Skyline and schools everywhere, but I don't think there's any new novel problem. I think it has just exacerbated the existing problems, which require the same solutions they did before.
So did COVID affect your personal life?
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
It did. I'm fortunate enough to not have had COVID, and I've known obviously lots of folks with COVID. Yeah. And I haven't lost anyone super close to me from it, fortunately. But I'm horrified that I'm going to bring a deadly disease home to my asthmatic wife and my baby. Fortunately, my baby's now vaccinated because he's old enough, and vaccines have been approved for the
It's good.
But it's still just this haunting presence.
So, how did you get into politics, and why do you enjoy teaching politics to students here at Skyline?
It's a kind of a long journey. I was interested in politics at a pretty young age. It was elementary school. The first issue I cared about was healthcare, because I didn't have it growing up at various points in my life. It'd be like, don't ride your bike outside because we don't have health insurance this summer. It's like, cool. And my dad has a chronic pain from a back injury 30 years ago, and no doctor could ever care to figure it out. And also the insurance problems with that, tie that up. And then I would learn, I don't know when I first learned it, but then I would learn that England had free healthcare. I was like, what the hell? And you mean all of these dramas that we deal with, all this terrible bureaucracy just is simply not a thing in hella countries? Yeah. And so that was so it can be different. And I think once when it clicks that life could be better and life could be different, it's hard to undo that. And so I went from there into education issues and labor issues in college, and sort of just all those issues, the systems that govern all of those problems. I realized they were all governed by the same system, and it was now I have kind of an ideology to work with.
So going back to OUSD, so what is it like to be a rep for OEA? OEA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in many ways, it's rewarding. I'd say it definitely depends on what's going on at the time. So like when we're not building toward a strike or building toward any serious action or whatever, you know, things are calmer, right? And we're just sort of doing maintenance, basically. Like, oh, some teacher didn't get paid for this extra thing they took on that they were told they would get paid for, and we helped them go get paid. Right? So sometimes it's kind of like little things like that. More recently, I'd say the OEA reps here have been trying to kind of demand a greater say for teachers in decision making at the school when it comes to safety and facilities, especially. But then when things get serious, like when we built up for the 2019 strike, that gets crazy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm telling everyone, like, oh, go charge the gate, stop the scabs from entering. You know, it becomes almost like like a little battle you're fighting.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine your teachers, like, stopping a car from passing through a gate.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so what's cool about a lot of these actions and strikes is that normal people, normal workers take on these almost like super heroic qualities, right? And it kind of takes on a life of itself.
So what is something what do you want for your students to leave with, like your upperclassmen, like your seniors? Because you know how you're teaching like U.S. government or like government politics. What do you want your upperclassmen to leave with to go to college?
I mean, as a political lesson, I'd say, which like should be familiar with you, is you always ask yourself who benefits and who suffers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That those two questions, I think, can help frame your thinking. Right. That when you see something bad, you don't just be like, oh, shucks, that sucks, right? You'd be like, okay, this is bad. Who benefits from the system that made this thing bad, right? You go to college and you got all these student loans and you're eating, rice-a-roni or whatever every day. Well, then you got to ask yourself, like, don't just be like, oh, this sucks, I'm poor. Be like, wait a minute, the chancellor makes like $800,000 a year. And I've never seen them in my life. Why do they have all this money in these fancy buildings while the students got nothing out here? Right? So asking those questions will, I think, guide you in the right direction.
Well, thank you for sharing all that information. I appreciate you for taking your time out to come out here and talk to us and answer some good questions. This is your host, Saecheo. Keeping it interesting. And I'm out.